everybody, I'm Ryan, and today we're going to talk about Belcher in Modern, the Oops All Spells deck of Modern. We're going to talk about card choice in the deck, the overall strategy of the deck, and how to play the deck. Let's jump into it. So this is Belcher in Modern. What this deck is effectively attempting to do is it's a one-card combo. It's trying to play Goblin Charbelcher, which is a 4-mana artifact where you can pay 3 mana, reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a land card. This artifact deals damage equal to the number of non-land cards revealed this way to any target. If the revealed land card was a mountain, this artifact deals double that damage instead. Put the revealed cards on bottom of the library in a random order. So essentially you activate this, we have no lands in our deck, we flip over our entire deck, deal like 40 damage to the opponent and win the game. One card combo. Simple as that, though we have some deck building restrictions in that we can't really play lands, except for this mountain in the sideboard, and we'll talk about that in just a second. But there's a lot of cards that are lands on the opposite side. So our spells on the front side, lands on opposite side, and we can play it as a land. But for purposes of Goblin Charbelcher, it is a spell. So we have like Seagate Restoration, Suppression Ray, Between Veil, Hydroelectric Specimen, Sink into Stupor, Jwari Disruption. All of these cards are effectively lands for us because on the opposite side, we can just play them as a land. Some of them are fine spells like Jwari Disruption, Sink into Stupor. Casting them on the front side are both totally fine. But most of them, if we are casting the spell, then something's gone horribly wrong. But while I have said that these most of the time are lands, again, we can use them as spells as well. So Jwari Disruption, 2 mana instant, counter target spell unless the controller pays 1. It's like decent card, be able to just have counter magic. Sink into Stupor is a 3 mana instant, return target spell or non-land permanent opponent controls to its owner's hand. Hydroelectric Specimen is a 3 mana 1/4 with flash. When this creature enters, you may change the target of instant or sorcery spell with a single target to this creature. So bad. Suppression Ray, 5 mana sorcery, tap all creatures target player controls. You pay any amount of energy. If you do, choose up to that many creatures tap this way, put a stun counter on each of them. We don't produce energy. Between Veil, I think it's how you pronounce that, is a 2 mana instant. Creatures your opponent control get -2/-0 till end of turn. And Seagate Restoration, which is a 7 mana sorcery. Draw cards equal to the number of cards in your hand +1. You have no maximum hand size for the rest of the game. We might actually cast that as well. But there's very little chance for casting Between Veil, almost 0 for Suppression Ray, almost 0 for Hydroelectric Specimen. We are playing them as lands. Notice some of these lands, you can pay 3 mana to have it enter untapped. In fact, a majority of them you can. But as far as Goblin Charbelcher is concerned, these are spells. So the rest of the deck is centered entirely around either protecting Goblin Charbelcher or tutoring it out or digging for it or digging for protection or ramping it out. Like with Lotus Bloom. Lotus Bloom is a not even 0 mana, a 0 cost artifact that has suspend 3 for 0 mana, which means we exile it for 0 mana with 3 suspend counters on it. At the beginning of your upkeep, you get to remove one of those time counters. And when the last one is removed, you can cast it without paying its mana cost. And we can tap it and sacrifice it to add 3 mana of any one color. So this allowed us to do this on turn 1 and be able to kind of ramp out the Goblin Charbelcher. There's also some combos with Tameshi, which is the last thing we're going to talk about here. We can dig for all of these cards with Thundertrap Trainer and Phalaji Archaeologist. Thundertrap Trainer is a 2 mana 1/2 with Offspring for 4, so you can pass for 6 mana to have 2 of these enter the battlefield, the second one being a 1/1. When this creature enters, look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may reveal a non-creature, non-land card from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest in the bottom of your library in a random order. So this allows us to essentially tutor our whole deck besides like Tameshi, I guess, or Phalaji Archaeologist or other Thundertrap Trainers. So it allows us to dig to Goblin Charbelcher or protection or seek lands. Phalaji Archaeologist is really similar as well. It's a 2 mana 0/3. When this creature enters, mill 3 cards, then put a non-creature, non-land card from among the mill cards this way into your hand. If you don't, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. So it's really relevant these effects are creatures and we don't just want to play Impulse, because with Flare of Denial is a 3 mana instant. You may sacrifice a non-token blue creature rather than pay the spell's mana cost. Counter target spell. Flare of Denial allows us to be able to counter spells on our turn, not like with Force of Negation, if we have Thundertrap Trainer or Phalaji Archaeologist on the battlefield. So it allows us to protect that Goblin Charbelcher, which is super, super relevant. Similarly, we get to play Disrupting Shoal, which is 2 mana and X. You may exile a blue card with mana value X from your hand rather than pay the spell's mana cost, and counter target spell as mana value is X, which this counterspell is horrible, but it can be 0 mana, and we have so many blue cards that we just don't give a crap about, and it allows us to interact with our opponent while Goblin Charbelcher is on the stack, and we can kind of protect that combo for 0 mana. Some other ways to interact with our opponent, we're playing Stern Scolding. It's just a very good counterspell at the moment. 1 mana instant counter target creature spell with power toughness 2 or less. There's a lot of cards like that. And then Spell Snare, most cards are 2 mana. Playing 3 Spell Snare is a 1 mana instant counter target spell with mana value 2. And most things are mana value 2. We can also tutor up Goblin Charbelcher, essentially Goblin Charbelcher 5 through 8 with Whir of Invention. It's a 3 blue and X with Improvise, where artifacts can help cast a spell. Each artifact you tap after you're done activating mana abilities pays for 1, which doesn't really matter in this deck, but you can search your library for an artifact card with mana value X or less, put it on the battlefield, then shuffle, which is also a little relevant that you can just pay 3 mana and grab a Lotus Bloom at instant speed, and so you have extra mana when you untap, or just be able to grab that Goblin Charbelcher. Then we have Tameshi, which is one of the more confusing parts of this deck. It's a 3 mana 2/3. Whenever one or more non-creature permanents are returned to hand, draw a card. This ability triggers only once each turn, and you can pay white and X to return a land you control to its owner's hand, return target artifact or enchantment card with mana value X or less from your graveyard to the battlefield, activate only as a sorcery. So the combo is you have a bunch of lands, whatever. You have a Lotus Bloom, either on the battlefield or in the graveyard, whatever. You can pay a white, which you get with Suppression Rate or with Lotus Bloom, to return a land to your hand, return Lotus Bloom to the battlefield, make mana with Lotus Bloom, return a land to your hand, draw a card relevantly, draw a card, return Lotus Bloom to the battlefield, make mana, return a land to your hand, draw a card, return Lotus Bloom to the battlefield, and you end up profiting a large amount of mana and effectively digging for Philology Archaeologist, Thundertrap Trainer, Whir of Invention, Goblin Charbelcher, whatever, hitting one of those things finally, and then being able to use that mana to play Goblin Charbelcher and activate it. It's a very powerful deck and very good at supporting, the 1-card combo. As far as the sideboard goes, Portable Hole is just a solid removal that we can tutor with Whir of Invention, either for creatures or like hate cards for Stony Silence or whatever. Consign to Memory is very good against Eldrazi, 1 mana instant counter target triggered ability or colorless spell. Decent against Storm and kind of the mirror a little bit as well. Into the Flood Maw is a 1 mana instant. Gift a tapped fish, return target creature an opponent controls to its owner's hand. If the gifts were promised, instead return target non-land permanent opponent controls to its owner's hand. This is good against Stony Silence and whatnot. Stern Scolding we've already talked about. Force of Negation, very good against other combo decks. If you plan on fighting a counter war or something, or fighting over Whir of Invention during your opponent's turn, it's a 3 mana instant. If it's not your turn, you may exile a blue card from your hand rather than pay the spell's mana cost. And it counters target non-creature spell. If that spell is countered this way, exile it instead of putting it into its owner's graveyard. Again, good against other combo decks, good against fighting counter wars, at least not on your turn. You can play up to 3 Harbinger of the Seas. It is a 3 mana 2/2 non-basic lands or islands. This is a good Blood Moon effect against decks that rely on, non-basic lands or have lands that do really scary things like Eldrazi or Amulet Titan or something. Playing a single mountain, because a lot of the cheap ways to interact with this deck are destroying our lands. Because we aren't playing any basics, cards like White Orchid Phantom or like Ghost Quarter are very good against us. And so against those decks, we side in a mountain, and we only side in one so we can grab it when they Ghost Quarter us or White Orchid Phantom us. And it's a mountain so that it deals double damage with Goblin Charbelcher, so there's just a very, very, very small chance that the mountain ruins our Goblin Charbelcher activation. And then we're playing 2 Torpor Orb, 2 mana artifact. Creatures entering don't cause abilities to trigger. It's relevant that this stops Archaeologist and Thundertrap Trainer, but against the decks we're siding Torpor Orb in against, it is just totally worth it. But that is Belcher in Modern. If you like this video, please be sure to like and subscribe. Check me out on social medias. Links are above me and in the description. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.